How's it going, everyone? We are still running the PlayStation Network's mid-year sale as well as the games under $20 sale, and in this video I want to take a look at games under the price of $10. Now, I'm pretty much taking a look at games at the price of $5.01 to $9.99 because we might end up doing another video of games under $5 because there's actually quite a few of them. But in this instance, all of these are under $10, and some games that I haven't talked about, or at least haven't talked about in quite a while. So let's get right into it, and let's start things off with Just Cause 4 Reloaded, 80% off for $7.99. Now, Just Cause 4 had a lot to be desired when it initially released back in December of 2017 or 2018, I want to say, and I was a big fan of Just Cause 3, and while I still wouldn't say that Just Cause 4 is as good as Just Cause 3, really, I'm recommending this to those of you that have played Just Cause 3, and now want to pick up another game with this same style. Just Cause 4 I felt like took a few steps backwards. The Reloaded version does make it quite a bit better, and considering you are getting it on sale for just $8, I would say that is definitely better than paying $60 because that's what I initially paid, and yeah, that would obviously increase my disappointment level. But if you're looking for a fun open world mayhem title, like Just Cause 4 still fits that bill to an extent. And it's still going to offer you quite a bit of fun, and for $8, it's mindless fun that you can get into, and I still think it's worthwhile at a budget price point. Next up, we have Detroit Become Human, which is 50% off for $9.99. I should note that this is also included with PlayStation Now. Detroit Become Human is, of course, done by Quantic Dream, and they've done a lot of titles that I've enjoyed. Indigo Prophecy, you've got Heavy Rain, of course, is probably the most iconic one. Beyond Two Souls, we don't like to talk about that one. However, some of their older titles don't have the best experience to be played in 2021, so to speak. They've aged fairly poorly, but Detroit Become Human still holds up really well. I mean, it just came out a few years ago, so obviously it is. And the game itself has a very, very compelling story, but that's what you're going into these games for. They are compelling, narrative-driven experiences, and this one features a futuristic world where it does focus in on AI. To me, it was a little bit over the top at times, but I still found it rather enjoyable, and of course, it has quite a bit of replay value on top of that, so if you're the kind of person that wants to experience all narrative routes, that's something to think about as well. For $9.99, I think it's a pretty good pickup. Next up, we have Castle Crashers Remastered, 40% off for $8.99. Now, truth be told, I wish this was a lot cheaper. Did a check on this, and this game has not gone down below $9, and it's been out for north of 2 years, I believe, so this is just holding up at $9. Castle Crashers itself, I bought this game when it first came out on, I believe, the 360 Arcade Marketplace, and I had a great time with it. It was well worth the $15 given how much fun I had with the game, and I've bought it on a plethora of platforms at this point. This is a game that ideally you do want to play it cooperatively. I talk about other games that have a co-op focus and be like, okay, you can play it solo, not a big deal. Castle Crashers is the kind of game that you want to get a group of friends together, you want to crack open a couple beers, and you want to have a good time with this game with your buddies. The solo experience, I mean, you could go through it, but it just doesn't have that long-lasting staying power, and really, the fun factor of this game comes into play when you are playing it co-op. So just bear that in mind. Try to get a couple friends to pick it up and you can have a great time with it. But I think $9, while it's not as cheap as I would like it to be, given that the PC version goes as low as like $3, the game itself is still at a high quality level where I'm inclined to recommend it. Next up, we have the Borderlands The Handsome Collection, $9.99. Now, here is the opposite spectrum of Castle Crashers, where I said Castle Crashers, you really should play that game cooperatively. Borderlands, you can play the game co-op, but I also had a really fun time playing this game solo. Like, I still found it a fun, FPS RPG, whatever you want to call it, action RPG. It's a lot of fun. Yes, is the experience enhanced cooperatively? I would say so, but it's still a very, very fun game, and the Handsome Collection offers you so much content for your money. Borderlands 2, the pre-sequel, all the DLC, all that content, the replayability, for $9.99, it's a no-brainer. Another title that is also included with PS Now, so just bear that in mind. I do like to give you guys a heads up on that, and I will continue to do so when we get to those games, which there are a few of on this list. But Borderlands The Handsome Collection, $9.99 is a great pickup. Goes without saying, it's always going to be a good pickup, and if you have yet to check it out, a lot of playtime for your money here. Next up, now this one might surprise you guys a little bit. Want to give a shout to Killzone Shadowfall, which is 50% off for $9.99. Now, before you get your pistol out and be like, bruh, I thought you said you didn't like this game. No, I said I didn't like the multiplayer in this game. Killzone Shadowfall had a very compelling campaign, and visually, it is still one of the best looking games on the PlayStation 4, and this was a launch title. I remember getting my PS4 launch day and picking up Killzone Shadowfall, and I had a great time with the campaign. Unfortunately, the multiplayer left a lot to be desired. Inspired, another title that is included with PS Now, but for $9.99, given that you are just going into it probably for the campaign experience, I would say at this point it's probably worth it. Ideally, you would like to get it at that $5 price point, like 75% off, but it hasn't been that price in quite a while. I think we're talking over a year, so if Killzone Shadowfall is something you're eyeing up, if you want to experience all the PS4 exclusives, you know, this one is one that gets lost in the shuffle given that it was a launch title and it wasn't at the level of a Killzone 2 or a Killzone 3, because remember, Killzone 2 and Killzone 3, those games hit home for me. Like, I put so many hours into those games. Shadowfall, not as much, but I still had an enjoyable experience with the campaign. $10 for that is alright. Next up, we have Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, which is 70% off for $6. Dead Rising is much like Just Cause in the sense that I always see these games as no-nonsense, you know, open-world fun where you can always have fun with the title, just hacking, slashing, and killing zombies. Maybe hack and slash is the wrong verbiage to describe this game, but you guys get what I'm saying, just beating the hell out of zombies. It's a fun time. I don't take the story too seriously, and if you go into it just expecting a game that you can lose some hours into, have a fun time, not take it too seriously, I think Dead Rising 2 is going to offer you some fun. $6 for that, I think, is pretty good. Next up, we have a LittleBigPlanet 3, which is 50% off for $9.99. Now, LittleBigPlanet is a franchise that, much like Killzone, hits home with me, but unfortunately, the PlayStation 4 outing was probably the weakest in the franchise. Now, that's not saying much because LittleBigPlanet 1 and 2 were excellent games. LittleBigPlanet 3 was done mostly by Sumo Digital, I believe, and that kind of, you know, maybe that is partly in due to why it's not at that quality level. However, the platforming sections are still very good, and if you go into it just expecting a decent platformer, a pretty good platformer actually, I think you will be happy with what you get in the game. I always found Sackboy to be a very, very likable character. Of course, we have Sackboy's A Big Adventure on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. That game is not really akin to the original LittleBigPlanet experience, but nevertheless, seeing Sackboy in more video games is definitely a cool thing. LittleBigPlanet 3, excuse me, for $9.99, I do think is a good pickup. Another title in PlayStation Now. Next up, Infamous Second Son, 50% off for $9.99. Another game that I always like to go to bat for, available on PS Now, but Infamous Second Son, while being the weakest of the three mainline Infamous games, I thought Infamous Second Son was still a very good game. Delsin is not at the level of a main character as Cole, however, he still has some nice quirks to it, and I think it's a little bit of a divergence from what Cole was that, you know, it was fun going through Delsin's story as well. The open world looks pretty good. Some of the content is a little bit repetitive, and if you do go just bum rush through the main story, you can complete it rather quickly. Like, I'm talking 8 hours. It's not that long, but the gameplay is still incredibly fun. Using all of the powers, that's really cool. And overall, Infamous Second Son was one of those early exclusives that, being an early exclusive, I enjoyed it probably more than you would going back to it now. However, I still think it's a pretty fun game, and I plan on playing through it again relatively soon. So I do recommend this, especially at $9.99. I think it's a good pickup. Hopefully sooner rather than later, Sony will give me a remastered collection of Infamous 1 and 2, because, man, I'd be singing the praises of those two games all night long if they were available, easily accessible on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. Next up, we have WipEout the Omega Collection, 50% off for $9.99. WipEout's another franchise, man, it's gone to the wayside at this point, but one that I hold a special place. It is such a fun arcade racer. This one includes WipEout 2048, WipEout HD, and WipEout HD Fury, all the content from those titles enhanced for PS4 and PS4 Pro. It also has a remarkable VR experience. Like, this game's VR component, like, came out of nowhere and ended up being one of the best VR experiences that you could have if you do have a VR headset. But if you just want an arcade racer, a futuristic arcade racer, WipEout offers that as well. Great music, a variety of different ships, and overall, just a really, really enjoyable arcade racer. $9.99, great pickup on that. Lastly, I do want to give a recommendation to Alien Isolation, which is 80% off for $5.99. If you want a quality survival horror game, a game that looks good, has a pretty engrossing atmosphere as well, like getting absorbed into a game is always important in a horror title. Alien Isolation does a very good job of that. Ideally, you would like to pick up the complete edition, but I don't believe that's on sale right now. Yeah, it's not. The collection is not on sale, but if you still get the base game, offers a good amount of content, $6 for it, no brainer there, and I think that's a solid pickup as well. So check that out if you're a fan of horror games. But that's going to wrap up this one. Again, a bunch of deals under $10 that I think are rather good. We might go through the under $5 deals. That might get a little bit redundant at this stage of the game. A lot of games that I have talked about before, but I saw some pretty good stuff like Hotline Miami, The Collection, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. Those were all under $5, so that is quite good. But that's going to wrap up this one. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know know if you've picked up anything during this sale, and if you have been a little disappointed by these sales, I wouldn't worry too much. I think Sony is prepping up a relatively big sale here in the coming weeks, whether that be like a summer sale or something like that. I think that is coming up rather soon. But that's going to wrap up this one. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.